A group of friends, Jake, Emma, and Tom, decided to go on a hiking trip in a remote area of the woods. They were all excited to spend the weekend exploring the wilderness and getting away from the city. As they hiked deeper into the forest, they noticed strange markings on the trees. At first, they thought it was just a coincidence, but the markings became more frequent and elaborate the further they went. They saw symbols they didn't recognize and what appeared to be strange messages carved into the trees. As the sun began to set, they found a clearing and set up camp for the night. They built a fire and sat around it, telling stories and roasting marshmallows. But as the night wore on, they started to hear strange noises in the woods around them. The noises were low and guttural, unlike any animal sounds they had ever heard before. At first, they dismissed it as just the sounds of nature, but then they heard footsteps approaching their campsite. They all froze, unsure of what to do. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the trees. It was a woman, dressed in ragged clothes and covered in dirt and leaves. She stared at them with wild, unblinking eyes and then disappeared back into the woods. The friends were spooked by the encounter, but they tried to ignore it and went to sleep. However, they were awoken in the middle of the night by a strange chanting coming from the woods. It was low and guttural, and it seemed to be coming closer and closer. They huddled together in terror as the chanting got louder and louder. Then, suddenly, it stopped. They sat there in silence, too afraid to move. The next day, they decided to continue their hike, but they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. As they walked deeper into the woods, they found more and more strange markings on the trees, and they started to feel like they were being led somewhere. Eventually, they came across an old abandoned cabin. The door was open, and they could see strange symbols drawn on the walls inside. They cautiously entered the cabin, feeling like they had stumbled upon something sinister. As they explored the cabin, they found a book filled with handwritten notes and drawings. The notes detailed the story of a group of people who had come to the woods years ago in search of a powerful, ancient artifact. The drawings showed images of strange creatures and symbols that matched the ones they had seen on the trees. Suddenly, they heard a noise outside the cabin. They looked out the window and saw the woman they had encountered the night before, along with a group of other people, all dressed in ragged clothes and covered in dirt and leaves. They were all staring at the cabin, watching them. The friends realized too late that they had stumbled upon a group of cultists who were searching for the same ancient artifact mentioned in the book. They quickly left the cabin and started to run through the woods, trying to escape the cultists' grasp. They eventually made it back to their car and drove away, but they knew that they had stumbled upon something truly terrifying in those woods. They would never forget the strange markings, the woman in the woods, or the eerie chanting they had heard that night. They would always wonder what kind of evil lurked in those remote woods.